He was a glorious stroke maker, perfectly balanced at the crease. He was an icon, an inspiration for his people. He overcame racism and the tyranny of distance to achieve greatness. Intelligent, astute and graceful, George Headley is one of ESPN's legends of cricket. In 1932, playing against a touring English first-class team, George Headley played what observers called the perfect innings, 344 not out.
In 1932, Lord Tennyson, the former England Test captain, brought a team to Jamaica and to the West Indies, and Headley slaughtered them. He scored an innings of 344 not out, and it's been described by those who saw it as the perfect innings. In the series, in the matches against the Tennyson side, he scored 723 runs, was only dismissed twice, lowest score 84, an average of 361 and a half. Tennyson, the captain, described it as being just the innings of perfection, and he also commented that Headley throughout that series just displayed a complete variety of strokes. I would imagine that George Headley in 1932 was a batsman as unlikely to be dismissed as any cricketer in the history of the game.
Headley was a small, finely constructed man who hit the ball with great power.
A little man, tiny man, but he had the eye. George Headley's eyes had something, had a sparkle. Most of the top batsmen have got great eyes. Their eyes show something in there, and you can recognise that something that makes them different.
What Grimmett has said and what Bradman has said about George Headley, that he was one of the greatest players the world's ever seen. Older West Indians say that he was the best ever from the West Indies. And I can believe them. I've only seen things of him on television, so I can't go into any detail on that, but people I trust say, look, that guy was absolutely magnificent.
He was very strong in every direction. His defence was splendid. He had a full range of shots, played the hook shot, and was particularly strong on the onside. Clarry Grimmett always said that he thought George Headley one of the greatest players that he ever bowled to. And of course, Clarry bowled to all the great players of that era, so his opinion ought to be respected. I rate George very highly indeed.
In Australia, his prolific run-getting earned him the title of the Black Bradman.
They called him the Black Bradman. Somebody said, well, Bradman was he was the White Headley.
You'd say Headley is the Black Bradman, and the guys in the Caribbean would say, no man, you got it wrong. Bradman's the White Headley. And so obviously he was, and I'm talking in the 1970s, and he basically finished by the war. I think he played 1 or 2 tests after the war, but he was past it by then. So, he'd basically finished by the end of the 30s, and here we are in the 70s, and people were still talking about George Headley and how good he was.
In his demeanour at the wicket, he was quite like Bradman. He's a compact figure. He moved his feet very quickly, played off the back foot a lot, but was capable of coming down the wicket. Very attractive, wristy, more attractive than Bradman to watch, more graceful and stylistic than Bradman, and very effective, a great deflector of the ball.
His statistics alone emphasise that he was a great batsman. He played in the 1930s when the West Indies had first come into Test cricket. He wasn't surrounded by any player who was of note, so he had to carry the batting on his own. He was known as Atlas in the Caribbean because of that fact. He carried the batting on his shoulders, and he averaged just over 60 in Test cricket. And between 1928, when the West Indies first came into Test cricket, and 1939, when the war broke out, the West Indies had scored 22 Test hundreds all told. and he had scored 10 of them. So he really was the dominant batsman, and people referred to him as a black Bradman. West Indians referred to Bradman as a white Headley.